Good morning students. Now coming to electron transport system, proton translocation and oxidative phosphorylation, that is formation of ATP in electron transport system of respiration. So this electron transport system is represented by total 5 multi-complex proteins energized with 2 mobile carriers. Okay, complex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these coenzymes like NADH and FADH, they undergo oxidation through this electron transport system, and their electrons they move from one electron carrier to the next. Finally, they are accepted by molecular oxygen, and it leads to the formation of one molecule of water from every coenzyme. In this way, 12 coenzymes are formed in aerobic respiration for one glucose molecule. 10 NADH2 and 2 FADH2. Now they oxidize through this series. Then these NADH2, they can be classified into 2 types. One is cytosolic NADH, means they are found in a cytosol, means glycolysis. 2 NADH2 are found in glycolysis. Glycolysis takes place in cytosol. So these NADH2 of glycolysis are called cytosolic NADH2. Similarly, remaining 8, they are called matrix NADH2. Matrix NADH2. Total 8 matrix NADH2 are found. They are found inside the mitochondrial matrix. The NADH2 which are found in mitochondrial matrix are called matrix NADH2. Therefore, depending upon the synthesis, depending upon the location of their synthesis, NADH2 are divided into cytosolic NADH2 and matrix NADH2. Cytosolic NADH2 2, matrix NADH2 8. That is NADH2. Now first coming to oxidation of matrix NADH2. Okay? How matrix NADH2 is oxidized and how these electrons are transported through the electron carriers, and how many H+ are entered into the intermembrane space, and how many ATP are synthesized by oxidation of matrix NADH2. Okay? This is matrix NADH. Okay? Matrix NADH2 generally is found inside the matrix of mitochondria. It is present in matrix. Now it undergoes oxidation, leading to the formation of NAD+, and it also yields 2 electrons and also yields 2 protons. Okay, this NADH should contain a pair of electrons, a pair of protons. Protons means H+. Oxidation of matrix NADH2, it yields NAD+ and 2 electrons, 2 protons. Now these 2 electrons are transferred into complex 1. These 2 electrons, they are transferred to FMN of complex 1. Now the electrons of this matrix NADH2, they are accepted by flavin mononucleotide positive group of complex 1. So these electrons, they move into the complex 1 and are accepted by flavin mononucleotide. Now these 2 electrons they are conveyed to FM. Now these 2 electrons immediately they are also conveyed to ubiquinone, a mobile carrier. Now these electrons, they are moved to ubiquinone. This is a mobile carrier. Okay. The transfer transfer of pair of electrons from complex 1 to ubiquinone. It also facilitates the transfer of total 4H plus from matrix to intermembrane space. Okay? From matrix to intermembrane space. 4H plus are transferred from matrix to intermembrane space by the transportation of every pair of electrons from complex 1 to ubiquinone. The transfer of the pair of electrons, it facilitates the transfer of the pair of electrons from complex 1 to ubiquinone. It facilitates the transfer of the total 4H plus from matrix into intermembrane space. So 4H plus, they move into the intermembrane space. Now these electrons are accepted by UQ. Okay? Generally, this UQ, it contains one electron. One electron is permanently present in UQ. Then it is present in partial oxidative state and partial reductive state. That is called semi-ubiquinone. Semi-ubiquinone. When one electron receives from one electron receives from complex 1, already one electron is present in UQ. Now, among these two electrons, when it receives one electron, it is reduced into ubiquinol UQH2. At the same time, two protons also takes place when they are also received from this matrix. Now, UQ cycle takes place here. UQ, it receives one electron from complex 1 and two protons from matrix and it is reduced into UQH2. Then this UQH2 returns to its original partial oxidation state. It releases the electrons to complex 3. This way. Reduction of UQ, oxidation of UQ takes place in cyclic manner. That is called UQ cycle. Every UQ cycle, it facilitates the transfer of 2H plus from matrix into intermembrane space. For pair of electrons, 2 UQ cycles operates here. 2 into 2, total 4H plus also there contributes to intermembrane space. Here also 4 electrons are moved into the intermembrane space. Every Q cycle transfer 2H plus. A pair of electrons coming from NADH2 oxidation 2 into 2, 4H plus also enter into the intermembrane space. Now these electrons are transferred to cytochrome C1 from cytochrome B present in the same complex. Now these electrons are transferred to a mobile carrier. This mobile carrier is called cytochrome C oxidase. The cytochrome C oxidase is present just near to the intermembrane space inside the inner membrane of mitochondria. So this mobile carrier accepts the electrons from complex 3 electrons. So due to acception of electrons by cytochrome C, it becomes reduced. So this complex 3, it reduces the cytochrome C. Therefore this complex 3 is called cytochrome C reductase, because it reduces the cytochrome C by giving the electrons. So now these electrons here, cytochrome C is a mobile carrier. When it receives one electron from this complex 3, it can move freely towards the complex 3 side. So it moves towards the complex 3. Moves towards the complex 4. Now the electrons are transferred to complex 4. Now electrons are accepted by cytochrome A present in complex 4. Now these electrons, they are transferred to another protein, cytochrome A3 protein present in the same complex. Ultimately, these electrons are transferred to half molecular. These electrons are transferred to half molecular O2, and it also accepts to it transfer the electrons to molecular half O2, plus it also accepts 2H plus, leading to the formation of one molecule of water. So ultimate electron acceptor. Ultimate electron acceptor. This is molecular oxygen. Okay. The two electrons coming from the oxidation of NaDH2, they are ultimately accepted by half O2, and also accepts two protons and it reduces into one molecule of water. In this way, oxidizing agent in electron transport system is a coenzyme, either NaDH2 or FADH2. Alternate reducing agent, this is water. Okay, so this is electron transport system of matrix NaDH2. Most important point here also, here 4 H plus they removed from matrix and enter into intramembrane space here. Another 4 H plus also removed from matrix and enter into the intramembrane space here. Here also 4 H plus are removed from matrix, but it transfer only 2 H plus into the intramembrane space. And what about remaining 2 H plus? Remaining 2 H plus they are consumed in the reduction of water molecule. Here also 4 H plus they removed from matrix, but 2 protons they enter into the intramembrane space. Remaining 2 they help in a formation of water molecule. That is the electron transport system. Okay. Now coming on the important point. How many H plus? Okay. Coenzyme and number of H plus, number of ATP. Okay, very important points. So one Na matrix NaDH. Matrix NaDH. How many H plus they enter into the intramembrane space by the oxidation of matrix NaDH2? 4 plus 2. 10 H plus they contributes to the proton concentration. So 10 H plus. And every 3 H plus, now this all these H plus they are moved into the matrix. They move into matrix. Every 3 H plus it is one molecule of ADP plus inorganic phosphate. So these H plus they move into matrix through ATPase. This is ATPase. The movement of every 3 H plus ions H plus through this ATPase, it adds one inorganic phosphate to adenosine diphosphate and it is converted into one molecule of ATP. Every 3 H plus movement, every 3 H plus ions movement, it is one molecule of ATP. And how many ATP molecules are formed with the oxidation of total NaDH2 matrix NaDH2? 10 H plus. 10 divided by 3, that is equal to 3 ATP are formed for every matrix NaDH2. 3 ATP molecules are formed from the oxidation of every matrix NaDH2. It contributes to 10 H plus and it is 3 ATP each. Now coming to another one. cytosolic NADH2. This is the nature of matrix NADH2. Now coming to the oxidation and electron transport and formation of ATP from cytosolic NADH2. So cytosolic NADH2, it is oxidized and the two electrons from cytosolic NADH2 directly they are enter into the UQ pool. They do not enter into complex 1. The electrons of cytosolic NADH2 they are directly enter into UQ pool. So these electrons of cytosolic NADH2 they takes the bypass of complex 1. There is no the movement of these 4 H plus and remaining electron transport is as usual. So it is 4 plus 2 H plus. They do not enter into complex 1. Therefore minus 4 H plus. Only 6 protons they are enter into the intermembrane space. 6 protons enter into intermembrane space by every NADH2, cytosolic NADH2. It is only 2 ATP. These electrons they take the bypass of complex 1. So 4 plus 2, 6 protons enter into the intermembrane space and they produce only 2 ATP molecules. Now coming to FADH2. In which reaction FADH2 is formed in Krebs cycle? Fumarate to succinate. Succinate to fumate. Succinate to fumarate. Okay. Succinic acid is converted into fumaric acid and it yields one molecule of FADH2. The oxidation of FADH2, electrons they are transferred to complex 2. Then these electrons are transferred to the ubiquinone. These are the electrons of FADH2. Here also these electrons they do not move into the complex 1 just like cytosolic NADH2. So that minus 4 H plus. So that also is 6 protons and it's only 2 ATP molecules. That is oxidation of FADH also contributes 6 H plus and yields 2 ATP molecules. So this is the nature of NADH2. Every coenzyme it oxidizes and it releases 2 electrons and these 2 electrons they move from carrier to carrier. Ultimately they are accepted by O2 and is reduced to Na mean 1 molecule of H2O. So this is the nature. But how many matrix NADH2 are there? Matrix NADH2 total 8. Okay. These 8 they is 3 ATP each and matrix NADH2 8 into 3 that is equal to 24 ATP. Okay. And cytosolic NADH2, how many cytosolic NADH2 are there? There are 2 cytosolic NADH2 and it is 2 ATP each. 2 into 2 that is equal to 4 ATP. And what about FADH2? FADH2 also 2. And each yields how many ATP? 2 ATP. 2 into 2 that is equal to 4 ATP. Total ATP formed in electron transport system by the oxidation of all coenzymes of one glucose molecule. That is 32 ATP molecules. Such formation of ATP in mitochondria in the presence of oxygen is called oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation. Total ATP by oxidative phosphorylation. This is 32 ATP molecules. So, oxidative phosphorylation ATP, 32 ATP. Already 4 ATP molecules as net gain, they are formed in a substrate level phosphorylation. 2 ATP are directly formed from substrates in glycolysis and 2 ATP for one glucose molecule are also formed in Krebs cycle. substrate level phosphorylation SLP ATP, 4 ATP molecules. Total output of ATP, that is 36 ATP molecules, is the output for one glucose molecule. One glucose molecule. For one glucose molecule. What is the total output of ATP? 36 ATP. How many ATP are formed by oxidative phosphorylation electron transport system? 32. How many are formed by substrate level phosphorylation directly? 4. What is the ratio of OP and SLP ATP? 32 is to 4. That is equal to 8 is to 1. Okay? Total output of ATP 36 ATP. The most important points. Okay? How many H+ are entering to the intramembrane space? By the oxidation of all coenzymes formed by the one glucose molecule. Means 12 energetic coenzymes. How many H+ are entering to the intramembrane space by the oxidation of total coenzymes of one glucose molecule? That is, how many NADH molecules are there? 8. Each contributes 10 H+, 8 into 10, 80. Cytosolic NADH 2. Each contributes 6, 2 into 6, 12. FADH 2. Each contributes 6 H+, 2 into 6, 12. Total 104 H+ entered into total 104 H+ enter into intramembrane space. Intermembrane space by the oxidation of total coenzymes of one glucose molecule. But how many H+ are removed from matrix? 104 H+ are entering into the intramembrane space from matrix. But how many H+ are removed from matrix? Here 4 removed and 4 enter into the intramembrane space. Here also 4 removed and 4 enter into the intramembrane space. Here also 4 removed, but 2 are enter into the intramembrane space. What about the remaining 2? They help in the formation of water molecule. In this way, 12 coenzymes, 12 into 2, 24 ATP molecules are consumed in the formation of water. Okay? Total enter into the intramembrane space 104. And the H+ they are used in water formation 24. Total 128 H+ they are removed from the matrix. Among this 128, 104 enter into the intramembrane space and 24 they are consumed in a water formation. They are removed from matrix. They are removed from